Department and state police, and we handled homicide investigations.
All right. And bring us to this case. On July 24th of 2014, did you hold that position?
Yes.
And becoming aware of a homicide occurring in Macomb County, were you amongst the officers who responded to assist?
Yes.
Did other persons from your task force also assist in the general law enforcement effort?
Yes.
And at least one of those officers was one of the officers from Detroit Police Department that you worked with?
He was from the state police.
He was a state police officer?
Yes.
All right. Did you work with somebody also from Detroit Police or not on this case?
There was somebody from Detroit Police Department that I worked with also.
Okay. And actually, in this case, did you become involved like, the day after the homicide?
It would have been, yes, the night.
The overnight hours?
The overnight hours.
Where did you respond to initially as your efforts began?
I went directly to Armada Police Department.
Do you recall what time?
It's probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. Would have been, I believe, on the 25th.
Did you work all night then and into the morning?
I did.
And the next day, did you become involved in gathering some evidence?
Yes.
What did you do?
During the night, do you want to know?
No, what led you to do that? Go ahead.
Okay. So during the night, we were assigned, myself and Trooper Walton, were assigned to go to, it would have been the friend of, his name is Alex. He was a friend to Austin, which is the boyfriend of April. We were assigned to go to his house and see if we could make contact with him.
Okay, and did you do that?
Yes.
And you made contact?
Yes.
Did you ask Alex for a generalized time frame when you first had contact with him?
Yes.
And did he give you some locations that he'd indicated he and Austin had traveled to in the late afternoon into the evening hours on the 24th?
Yes.
After hearing about where he traveled with Austin, did you and one or two other law enforcement individuals go and try to retrieve some evidence of that?
Yes.
Do you recall where you went?
We went to the Speedway gas station in Richmond, and we also went to the McDonald's in Richmond.
All right, I'm going to show you what we have actually already admitted as Exhibit 5. Do you recognize that? Can you see that?
Yes.
And what is that?
That's the Speedway gas station in Richmond, inside the building.
And the two individuals in the foreground, the black shirt and the blue shirt, do you recognize those individuals?
Yes.
Who are they?
Alex is in the royal blue shirt, and Austin is in the black T-shirt.
And that is, what we're actually seeing here is like a still frame grab from a video, is that correct?
Yes.
And there's a date on there and a time at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it from there. Do you see that though, at least in the bottom?
Yes.
Okay.
If you need to get up at any point, please do, but speak loud, because I need to pick your voice up.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess if you leave the microphone, we just need to have you talk nice and loud. Did you go any other place then to retrieve some video that may have depicted where Austin and Alex were on the 24th?
Yes.
Where else did you go?
The McDonald's in Richmond?
And were you able to find some video and ultimately then view a still capture of that?
Yes.
I'm going to show you a picture of what we have marked as People's Proposed 52, and see if you recognize that.
I do.
And what is that?
It's standing inside the McDonald's, looking out through the drive-through window where you would get your food.
Okay. And in the person's getting food, do you recognize that to be Alex and Austin getting their food from the McDonald's?
Yes.
I'm going to move to admit 52.
Any objection? Submitted.
Could you display that, please? Now, if you could get up and come down, I want you to point out a time and a date.
There's a date at the bottom here. It says 7/24/2014, and the time is 18:30 and 57 seconds. It'd be 6:30 in normal time. This is military time.
That's military time. And did you find something out as you were examining the video? Because, to be clear, the timestamp with the date stamp down here in the bottom, that's actually captured right from the video itself, correct?
Yes, it is.
And you can see up in the left corner here, it says channel 2 and a 2 with a bracket.
Yes.
Is that right? Did you find there were actually multiple cameras at the McDonald's, maybe capturing different parts of the restaurant?
There were.
This one happened to capture the drive-through.
Yes.
In terms of the time, did you check the accuracy of that time?
The time was 3 minutes slow.
Time was 3 minutes slow.
Yes.
So explain then in terms of, well, first of all, how did you determine that?
I had a cell phone and looked at the cell phone and were able to see that this was saying, well, the time that we were looking at the video, it was 3 minutes off, and it was 3 minutes slow. Later, when the tech guy came, we confirmed that it was 3 minutes slow. So it's actually 6:33.
Okay. I guess that's what I'll make clear. And the tech guy that you referred to, is this a gentleman from another department?
Yes, he's from Detroit Police Department.
And you were there when this video was viewed and recovered and retrieved and brought back to the command post?
Yes.
Your efforts on this case, did they continue then as trying to help figure out who did this?
Yes.
Were you assigned to specific tips or clear tips?
I was assigned to assist with the sex offender registration, sex offenders that lived in the area with Trooper Hoffman, and I was a second backup officer, and we went to the surrounding area checking on sex offenders.
And you reported then back in terms of where people may have been at what time?
Yes.
That information was all then conveyed back to Sergeant MacArthur,
Yes.
Chief Smith?
Yes.
Okay. Any other efforts you were asked to do, I'm sure you did it.
Yes.
Demonstratively, let me ask Mr. Sheep to give me a objection to this. By agreement, and I don't think I'm going to move to admit this, but for demonstrative purposes, I'm going to, in a moment, Judge, display a map so Ms. Swift can indicate where Richmond is, where Armada is. Before we put the map up, you're familiar with Richmond?
Yes.
You trooped out of Richmond?
At the Richmond Post for years.
Okay. And you're familiar with Armada also? You had your law enforcement operations?
Yes, that was part of our patrol area.
Okay, so if you see them on a map, you're going to be able to tell us where things are.
Yes.
Are you familiar with where the Speedway is, where those photos were taken from a
Yes.
video? And you're familiar with the McDonald's?
Yes.
And the location of that?
Yes.
Can we just put up a image, please? And I'm going to ask you if you recognize that right here to be Armada.
Yes, it is.
And in what direction then would Richmond be?
Richmond's going to be going that way. If I can stand up.
You can stand up,
Don't
please.
stand alone. Just speak loud.
Could you go back, Armada?
too.
So this is Armada. This would be Armada Ridge. If you follow this road, it eventually leads you to Low Plain, or actually into Richmond on Main Street, which is M19. Keep going. And this is where you get into M19 right here. And this is Division Road. This is 32-mile road. The Richmond Post is located over here.
So do you know the general area? Can you point that out, or should we zoom in more to figure out where the Speedway is and where the McDonald's is?
You're going to have to raise the map because the McDonald's is down this way. So this is Lake Angeles. It's a huge subdivision back here. And the Speedway is going to be right here. You got a big Kmart parking lot, and then McDonald's is right in this vicinity too. I mean, Tori will blow it up. They're almost like you got Lake Angeles, you got the Speedway, and then there's a pawn shop, and then McDonald's.
That's probably close enough. Let's turn it back. You recognize that area?
Yes, I was looking away, I'm sorry, when Main Street and 19 Maple Lane. Can you just zoom it down a little bit? Yes, because this is Kmart over here. This would be Speedway right here, and McDonald's is right here.
All right, now, could you zoom back out and then take us back towards Armada so we can see, generally speaking?
Okay. So keep in mind, I'm going to just point, this is the Speedway and McDonald's right here. You got to, now you're up to Armada Ridge connects right here.
Okay.
And there's different avenues that you can take to get there, but that's the
We're taking the
mechanism.
yellow route right now, following it back into. Okay. In the Speedway times, I'm not going to put the exhibits back up there, I'll just have you indicate what they are. The times on the video that you talked about, do you recall this being the picture you just viewed?
Yes.
What's the date and time on that?
It's July 24th of 2014 at 5:54 p.m.
Okay, and the other one was at 6:30, but we know the actual time was 6:33.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Would you prefer Miss Swift or Trooper Swift?
It doesn't matter. You can call me Trooper, you can call me Mrs.
Just for reminiscence sake, I'll call you Trooper, okay?
Sounds good.
Trooper Swift, you indicated there's not a lot of distance between the Speedway and the McDonald's, correct?
Correct.
Just for reference, is it a city block, 2 blocks?
I'd say half a block.
About half a block. Both seem to be on the same side of the street, correct?
They are on the same side of the street.
Okay. And now, as far as you've indicated, you're familiar with Armada, Richmond, and the areas in there, correct?
Yes,
Are you familiar with the trail, the McComb Orchard Trail?
I am.
Okay. Are you familiar with what part of Armada that's in?
What part, it's on the south side of Armada?
Okay. And as far as most likely driving distance, not necessarily the yellow that they followed, but the most likely driving distance, what's the time it would take to get from the Orchard Trail to where the McDonald's and the Speedway are about?
What part of the Orchard Trail you're going to be talking? If you're,
Oh, okay. Do you know where Ms. Millsap's body was located?
Yes,
Okay, from that area to McDonald's and or Speedway, about how long
and are you talking driving?
driving?
Driving, maybe 20 minutes?
And what's the distance that you would put?
The distance is probably about 12 to 15 miles.
Okay. Now, while you were trooper in that area, did you ever have occasions to go out to the McComb Orchard Trail because people had reported motorcycles or other motorized vehicles riding on that trail?
No, I never had anything like that.
Never had a complaint like that, okay. And I believe you indicated that Speedway was at 5:54 p.m.?
Yes,
Did you also see if that was erroneous or if that was the right on time, or
that was the correct time.
that was the correct time? Okay. And then the McDonald's displayed 6:30, but it was actually 6:33, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if I may briefly confirm. How long were you at the Richmond Post itself?
I was at Richmond from 1997 to, they closed the Post in 2012.
Thank you.
I have no regret.
Thank you, ma'am, you're excused.
Thank you.
And we'll call Deputy Morgan.
Sir? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give me will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
And what is your first name?
Clifton,
C-L.
I-F-T-O-N,
Your last name?
Morgan,
And you are?
G-A-N.
Thank you. Please speak loudly.
There's a little thing of mine. I'm going to have you hand this to me and have you testify from your memory. You've got your police report here, right?
Yes.
If you need to refer to it, you let me know, and I'll hand it to you. I just want council to know if you're using that to refresh your memory. Would you indicate where you're employed,
Macomb County Sheriff Office.
and what do you do there?
I'm a Deputy Sheriff K-9 officer.
And how long have you been a Macomb County Sheriff Deputy?
I started there in 1998.
And do you have some other special assignments aside from regular law enforcement patrol duties?
Yes, I was in our traffic division, and then the K-9.
And what does that entail, the K-9? What does that mean? Like,
K-9 means I got a police dog.
Okay.
I'm on my second dog now. Been working with for about 11 years between both of my dogs.
And you have a son who also works for the department?
Yes, I do.
Similar name?
Same name.
Same name. Is he also a canine handler?
Yes, he is.
And what sort of a dog, dogs do all kinds of different things for police departments. There's cadaver dogs, there's bomb sniffing dogs, there's drug dogs, there's tracking dogs. What sort of a dog are you trained to work with?
My current dog right now is a bloodhound, and he's a tracking, trailing dog.
So you have a bloodhound.
Correct.
How many other bloodhounds are working in Macomb County?
None.
Do you know of any other bloodhounds working in the metro area?
None.
You are certified to work with this bloodhound?
Yes.
And is your dog certified?
Yes.
What's your dog's name, this bloodhound?
Buster.
Canine Buster.
K-9 Buster.
How long have you been working with Buster?
I delivered Buster from a pup, so I've been working training him for 3.5 years.
You literally delivered Buster?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And so you've been working with Buster his whole life.
Correct.
What is Buster trained to do?
Buster's trained on human scent. Basically, I take cadaver parts, okay, and utilize that for training with him for area searches, for tracking and trailing.
And is this something like where you train Buster once and you get used to Buster and that's that, and like once a year you go back and regain a certification, or how does it work?
I continuously train with Buster. Every Wednesday we have our training day, and also when I'm at work, we put down specialized tracks for him, so forth. I have other people work with me.
And can I guess, perhaps not every week you actually have an occasion to deploy Buster, but every week for sure you are training with Buster.
And just about every day that I work, I'm doing some sort of track or trailing.
Almost every day?
Almost every day, because I do the whole Macomb County.
On July 24th, 2014, were you working as a canine with Buster?
Buster was in my car. My primary dog that day was Canine Harley, which is a German Shepherd.
I was just going to ask you, what sort of dog is Canine Harley?
German Shepherd.
And is Canine Harley still in service?
No, Canine Harley retired on January 16th, 15.
What training is it a boy dog?
Yep.
Harley?
Yeah, both of them are males.
Both males. What was he trained in?
Narcotics and tracking.
All right. Do those two dogs work the same way in terms of if somebody asks you to go find somebody, do those two dogs work the same way to find a person?
No. The German Shepherd, we call our half-hour window. In a nutshell, if somebody bails out of a car or breaks into a house, we get there within a half hour. The dog's really good for that kind of trail. They're called hot dogs and cold dogs. Hot dog meaning a German Shepherd, meaning you could put the trail down right now and he will track on that trail. Where the cold dog, being the bloodhound, you can come in 6-7 days later and track with that dog.
On this occasion, do you recall responding with a number of other law enforcement officers to help in the investigation of the death of this young girl north of the Macomb Orchard Trail?
Yes, on this particular night, I was contacted at my house by my sergeant at the sheriff's office, which requested me to assist Armada PD with a area search from a victim that was found there.
So describe what you did when you get the call.
My son was on location, as well as Officer Newmeyer, which was previous my sergeant at our sheriff's office. They realized very quickly that in order to do anything with a canine, it was going to be detrimental because of the area where she was located and the bike trail or the bike path that she was on was numerous of vehicles on there, and a dog's worst enemy is when a vehicle runs, like the carbon monoxide from the exhaust.
That interferes with their olfactory abilities?
Right, so they knew they needed a air scent dog, and I have the only air scent dog in the area.
You indicated there were vehicles on the trail.
Correct.
What time did you get out there?
I got contacted about 11 o'clock, and I think I showed up at about 11:30, 11:20, 11:30.
Do you recall police car or cars being out there?
Yes,
Do you recall medical vehicles being there?
there was vehicles, yes, there was vehicles everywhere,
You're familiar with the trail?
kind of,
All right, do you become more familiar with it as a result of this case?
yes.
Describe then what you did when you got to the scene.
When I met my son at the on Fulton and Depot, and he explained to me what had transpired, what they found. Within seconds, we drove to that location because I wasn't originally going to drive it because I didn't want the contamination of the car. And he says there's already numerous cars there, so we drove there. And when I arrived on location, I requested, or Officer Newmeyer requested me to help do an area search for any other things that connect to this incident.
So you chose which dog?
I chose Bloodhound.
For all the reasons you've just indicated?
Correct. And that's what I was specifically called for, is the Bloodhound.
Okay, but you had both dogs, am I right on that?
Not on that specific, at that specific time, because I was called in strictly for the Bloodhound.
All right, so we'll get to another search you did where you had both dogs.
Correct.
This search, you've got your Bloodhound, and how do you begin working with your partner, your canine partner?
I requested an article of clothing. With the Bloodhound, you have to have an article of clothing with odor contamination for that, the dog to work. So I requested an article of clothing, and someone, I don't remember who it was, one of the people on scene retrieved a shoe for me, a tennis shoe, a white tennis shoe, I believe it was.
All right. And so your dog needs to then sniff an article associated with something,
Right.
and then the dog has essentially got that scent.
Yes, I let him play with the article of clothing. He takes his nose and he gets that odor. He retains that odor. He's been trained numerous of times. He knows exactly what I want him to do. He retains that odor from that article.
This may or may not matter, but I guess I just want to sort of also, in terms of telling your dog what you want it to do, obviously your dog doesn't speak to your dog. Do you have different collars and harnesses for your dog?
Yes, we have tracking harnesses, trailing harnesses, and what we call a dead ring, which he's free to roam.
Is that a signal to your dog what you want to do with your dog when you put a different harness on it?
Correct. After you do it repetitive hundreds of times, the dog automatically knows exactly what I want.
Okay. So on this occasion, you put on a harness for what?
For trailing.
For
It's trailing harness.
So people could imagine a trail, and they think of a dog sticking its nose down to the ground and sniffing the ground, trying to find a trail. Is that what you were trying to accomplish and what you're trying to convey?
No, what I was trying to accomplish there was an air scent. The dog is going to take anything associated with that odor that I give him, and he's going to connect to that odor.
All right. Did you get some signal that your dog was, you were interacting appropriately with your dog?
Yes, when I took the dog, the young lady's body was found. When I took the dog about approximately 8 feet to the north of the body, there was a thing called I call it a two-track. It's a dirt trail that runs along north off of the bike trail. And that was the only real area that I had to work with due to the contamination that was on the bike trail.
Okay. So you start working your dog now.
Correct.
And how does it work? Are you on like a 3-foot lead, a 20-foot lead? How?
I got a 35-foot lead
Okay.
that I worked with him right there initially because I didn't want him to run directly to the body, which he tried to do several times.
Does that tell you something?
Oh, absolutely. It tells me that he's got her odor.
Okay.
And what I did is I took him onto the bike trail, or he led me to the bike trail per se, took him onto the bike trail, and I kind of had to force him north on the bike trail to get him off of that specific odor. It's kind of like when a person jumps out of a car and runs, all their odor is still in the car, but I want him to find the person that ran away.
So he starts back initially towards, is the body still there? By
Yes,
the way?
yes.
So she's still there, and you have to kind of, actually want him to go at first, but then after a couple of times, you need to redirect him?
Right, I had to kind of like direct him down the bike path,
Okay.
and then that's when he took off.
What does that mean? What do you do?
When he took off, I call it four-pole drive. He drags me.
He's
And
like leaning forward into his harness?
yes, and he just basically with all of his strength, he's pulling me very hard northbound through the bike trail.
All right. And northbound then, is that taking you into the village of Armada?
Yes.
Did you, over the course of, well, let me ask you, minutes, tens of minutes, did you continue working with your dog until you got to a certain location?
Yes, I did, all through, we went over several streets, not really that familiar with Armada, over the streets, but I went over several streets going north and west from the bike trail, and my son, I don't like shining a light on him at nighttime. My son was running behind me, shadowing me, with my night vision goggles.
Okay. So your son's behind you with the night vision goggle because you don't want to distract the dog with
Correct.
that light in
Right.
front of
You
him?
don't, right, you don't want to distract the dog.
Okay. I should say him, not it. Did your dog ultimately lead you to a location?
Yes.
And going through town, where did your dog lead you?
He led me out onto a street called Depot, then I went from Depot basically north and then northwest. I ended up in the back of a house on the porch, right at the door handle.
At the door handle?
Mhm.
And whose house was that?
Later on, Chief advised me that that was the victim's home.
Your dog took you back to April Millsap's house.
Correct.
After that, what did you do? And we're talking like around midnight or after midnight at this point.
Yeah, it had to be after midnight, well, yeah, obviously after midnight. Took me probably about a half hour, 40 minutes to get there to her house, and then after I was comfortable that this is where we was going to end it, I disconnected a Harley or Buster from his trailing harness and hooked him to his dead ring, which is his tracking line.
The free sniff, again, to be clear, your dog is sniffing the air for remnants of that earlier
Right.
scent.
Never dropped his head down once, continued all the way there with his head out.
Nose up,
Air
head
scent,
out.
yes,
And it's pulling you.
correct.
You put on now the dead ring, which is his, what does that tell you? Or what does it tell
It's just
the
like
dog?
free roaming, he can do pretty much anything he wants.
Okay.
But he chooses to track at that point.
Is that normal for him, or is that just,
You know what, it kind of surprised me and my son, being that he's a canine officer too, as we left that location. We started the way out of the backyard, and we noticed he was now tracking, and he tracked literally right back to, there's a bank on the corner, across the bank, and right back to Depot, and then he went southbound on Depot.
and did you get onto the Macomb Orchard Trail then as you went southbound?
Right before the Orchard Trail, he tried to go through several backyards. He's not a fence jumper because bloodhounds don't have a real good depth perception. He doesn't see far,
Okay.
so they don't like jumping over fences, but he would go up in the yards and back out to the sidewalk. And we eventually worked our way to the bike trail and then back east on the bike trail.
What time did you finish work that night, or early morning now?
Approximately 3 o'clock,
That's when you cleared the scene eventually?
correct. And then I met with the chief about 3:30.
You told him what you had found and what had occurred?
Mhm.
Did you come back within hours to continue assisting the effort?
Yes, Chief requested me to come back. He said that there was a cell phone that they was desperately trying to locate that wasn't near her body that they could locate. And after talking with her for a few minutes, I says, well, we need to get the cars off the bike trail in order to search the area.
About what time was that you got back? The next
I
morning?
think it was right around 7:30 in the morning.
And this time you had both canines.
Correct.
Generally speaking, what area were you searching with your canines that next day for the cell phone?
I was requested to go over near 34, between 34 Mile Road and Armada Ridge on Omo.
The conditions that morning, what were they?
It was calm. It was about 58, 60 degrees, I guess.
Which dog did you begin working with that morning?
I started with Canine Harley, and the purpose of starting with him, they're both article search dogs. The reason I started with him because the area that I originally started in was around a pond area, very dense area, and he could cover ground a lot quicker off lead, which I could not take the bloodhound off lead.
Why is that?
The bloodhound, I got to really keep an eye on him, where when he alerts to something, I need to be right there. Where the German Shepherd, he'll alert and bring something back to me.
Okay. I'm going to show you, well, how long did you work with your Shepherd?
About 9.5, almost 10 years.
That morning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
That morning, probably about an hour that morning.
I, in my own mind, use the term casting. I mean, does that make sense, or is that not a good term for somebody to use? When you're working?
With Harley, he was off lead, running through the brush and everything.
So he's never coming back, and you're not like putting him on a lead and taking him over here and releasing. He's off lead the whole time.
He's off lead the whole time, and if he finds an article, he'll stay right with the article.
Okay. Did you locate the cell phone or any other item with Harley?
No.
Did you continue your efforts?
Yes, I did.
Did you change dogs?
Yes, I did.
And you used Buster?
I used Canine Buster.
So what did you do with Buster?
With Buster, I started just a little bit north of where I finished up with Harley, because I'm real comfortable with Harley searching, that nothing was in that area, so I wanted him to concentrate on north of that location, and it'd be west of Omo.
So west of Omo, north of the trail,
Correct.
south of Armada Ridge.
Correct.
Do we have the picture of the map, just so I can, with Omo? Do you recognize that to be part of the area that we're talking about? You can orient yourself and step down.
Oh,
Do you recognize this to be Armada?
yes.
And if this is indicated as Fulton, this being the Macomb Orchard Trail,
Correct.
this being Omo Road.
Right. Yeah. When I initially went there, I started somewhere in here working my way back to that way.
Okay, that's the night that you first went.
When I first got there.
The next day when you came
The
back.
next day I came back, I started working my way up in here with Harley into this area here.
Here, use this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Started in this area right here.
And then you switched to Buster and continued working?
Right, I switched with Buster about right along in here. It was more of a flatter ground, and then we continued working northwest through here, and about right here, you started dragging me through, I believe it's right along in here where he alerted, drug the brush and everything, and alerted on the phone. Basically.
I'm going to show you, first I'm going to show these two. So this is going to be...
Am I speaking loud enough, Judge?
You're doing all right.
Okay.
You can stay standing too, so give me a moment. This is going to be 53 through 58, series of photographs. I'm going to show you, actually I'm going to move to admit these now, unless I can have them all identified. Do you want me to have them all identified, Mr. Sheik?
No, that's 53 through 58, correct?
Yes.
Any objection?
No objection.
They're all admitted?
All right. 53, you recognize that?
Yes. This is the area, this is the driveway just to the north of where I located the phone.
Could you display 53?
Can he sit down or are we going to have him stand?
I'm going to stand up. Go ahead and look at the picture. Okay. The driveway you indicated is going off of Olmo Road?
That's correct.
So that driveway is going westbound, is that correct?
The driveway goes west.
Starting westbound at
Yeah,
least.
starts west, southwest, and snakes through to a home.
I'm going to skip one photograph, moving forward here. 55, Craig. Recognize that?
Yes.
What are we doing here? Are we moving up the driveway
We're moving up the driveway.
into a brushy area
Right.
past the driveway?
Correct. I was on this side of the driveway.
Display 56. Now we have, I can see a state police car in the background there. Do you see that?
Yes.
And would that be where Olmo Road is?
That's Olmo, yes.
And where would the driveway be, just for relative positioning?
To the left of this picture.
Okay. And it kind of curves?
Correct. It goes back like a southwest.
Okay. Now, we can see some individuals in this picture kind of through the brush. Do you see that?
Yes.
What do we have depicted there?
That's me, and that's the trooper. I don't know who that might be, but I can't tell you that.
You're in the gray?
Yes.
Could you box that area just to zoom out so we can get a little closer picture? So we've got, there's another police officer you can actually see now, also to the left, right?
Yes.
We've got you and a trooper.
Correct.
And you appear to be looking down.
Correct.
Can you display 57? Do you recognize this as some brush in that area?
Yes.
You see an individual standing kind of in the upper right?
Yes.
Craig, could you box? Do you see something there in the brush?
Yes. That is the cell phone that was located.
And then could we display this picture? That's the cell phone.
Correct.
So Buster alerted to and found the cell phone, April's phone. Ultimately, officers picked it up and retrieved it.
Correct. He had pawed at the tree, but he drug me in, suddenly stopped, and he was pawing at something. When I walked around the brush, that's when I seen it.
The cell phone itself appears to have some cracks on it. Do you see that?
Yes.
Now, in that very...
Is that 58?
We'll make sure. That's 58. In that same vicinity, did you locate another item?
Yes.
And what was that?
There was a cell phone cover.
Do we have this here? Or is it locked? Is it locked up? The cover? Recognize that?
That looks like the cover, yes.
All right. And that's People's Exhibit 3. Was that located by yourself or by your dog?
By the dog.
How far away from the phone approximately was it?
I'm going to guess 60 feet.
60 feet
approximately.
away?
Yes. Basically 60 feet would be northeast from where the phone was actually.
Still in some brush?
Yes.
Okay. You go ahead and sit down. Fair to say you didn't do any search of the contents of April's phone? I mean, you didn't go, like, turn it on, then start
I
checking messages?
never touched the phone, no.
Okay. You indicated the cell phone case was amid some debris. The phone looked like it was near the base of a tree.
Yes.
Do you recall where the case itself was? Was it just in brush, or do you not specifically recall if it was next to a tree?
There was a bunch of leaves and stuff, and it was like by some brush.
Okay. Do we have a picture of the terminus of the animation, like the last moment of the animation? Grab that on yours before we
Don't forget about our time frame.
The phone itself was found west of Omo Road, adjacent or near one of those driveways.
Correct.
Have you actually since then seen an animation that a special agent helped create with data points? Not that you helped create it, but have you seen it?
No.
You have not actually seen it? You're aware of it, though?
I'm aware of it.
All right. Do you know which driveway it was located by, if we show you that map again?
Which driveway, the
The
cell
phone?
phone? Yes.
Can you go ahead and play the map again?
Can we done?
Yeah, please do. Which of the driveways was it?
Got one right here. There's two, this is the first house from 34 Mile Road, so it was the second house here.
All right. And it was, the phone itself was south of the driveway, is that correct?
South of the driveway and west.
Yes,
The
and that-
phone was in this general area.
And the case was a little north of that?
Correct. Northeast.
So a little bit closer to Omo Road?
Because I told him to leave the phone where it was at, and I went from the phone, right, continued searching the area and found the case.
So do it, please again, just point in the general direction where the phone was found.
It would be right along in here somewhere.
All right. Okay, that's all I have right now.
When the dog finds the phone, does he touch it?
Man, he got, my German Shepherd would actually grab the item. The Bloodhound has never touched an item today. I was approximately, because he was dragging me through the brush, I was going through the brush, my head was down when the dog went in. I know he pawed at it, but I did not see him touch it with his mouth.
Mr. Sheik?
Your Honor, because of the time frame, should I continue my cross afterwards?
Yes. Folks, we're going to take that hour now. We're going to resume back at 3:30. You're free to go wherever. And to answer a question, yes, we will stop at 5 so that you don't have to worry about picking up your child. So enjoy your hour, and I will see you at 3:30.
All right, Jerry.
You can step down. Thank you.
Thank you.